It's called The Menu, which is a great movie, by the way.
I want to see that.
It's so good.
What the?
It's Robot Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
It's Robot Scott on like Quaaludes.
Ah, damn.
April 14th. Damn. All right, yeah. So
Okay, so we're watching that. So he's in this movie, The Menu, which Scott basically wants to see. It's on HBO Max if you can get it. I don't know how it, but anyway, it's a great movie. He's in it, and I actually like him as an actor. And then
It's
it
being
had
really annoying right now.
a lot better.
better, tinny, but better.
Yeah, I'm on my phone.
Yep.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'll take it.
So it has a bunch of actors. Aquafina, who I think is hilarious,
Yep.
right?
She's the cop. Yep.
But then the whole concept of, I think I'd like some innocence,
Right.
nuns,
Yeah, and a whole
a
bus full of girls.
full of
cheerleaders.
cheerleaders. I'm like, Jesus. So basically, you're an Uber for a villain.
Mm-hmm.
And
Fucking
he's in a therapy group.
yeah. Dead man's DoorDash, dude.
So what do you mean to say is, if I don't feed him, he can't grow in power? I mean, that's an odd thing to say, but yes.
I like the fact that he's still actually eating the bugs.
Yeah.
To get his abilities.
Oh, that's hilarious by
Mhm.
itself. And then Cage just being
Cage.
Cage.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, I barked out loud. I just was like, yes!
So I'm excited about that movie.
Oh.
For me, I have to see it in the theater because I think it's the only experience that's truly going to do it justice.
But you need the communal laughing.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just need a group of Nick Cage fans just going like, this is everything I've ever wanted in my life.
Yeah, get her done, man. Well, you know what's hilarious to me is that this movie comes out just after I changed the bio on my Instagram to like, honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. I just want awesome and I just want funny and awesome to get married. And then that shit shows up not more than a day later.
Hello.
Hey, Ken.
Hello.
Am I still a robot?
Nope.
No.
Sound okay to me.
Now I gotta turn you back up. I hope you don't blow my head off like I got fucking blown off yesterday.
That was bad.
Are you able to hear me okay? I'm using a different microphone.
Oh yeah, you sound good.
Excellent.
By a different microphone, what are you using?
I'm just using the ice ball.
Oh yeah, the ice ball's good.
I was making videos for work and I didn't want to be wearing my headset all day.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, now.
Yeah, I
I
do.
just want to make sure that I'm not too loud.
I'm wearing mine out. I don't even know how long I've had this thing, but this fucking headset's been great. Oops. I got the wrong chat up. That's interesting.
Uh-oh.
Well, it was just me talking to my kiddo. It was just all hearts and love you too, Dad. Bah. Lots of that.
See, I gotta mute the stream, and then I gotta open up my documents and gaming shadows human.
Gaming Shadows Human.
I gotta crack open my OneNote. God damn, I don't even remember what we were doing. It's been so long.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a month.
We're a whole 4 sessions down. What just happened there?
We lost Scott.
So everything I do is like 5 to 10 second delay. Oh, dude. Well, mind you, He's out in California, and it's, like I said, they're getting hit with bombastic storms. So
They're getting effed in the game right now.
yeah.
Yeah. It's messing with the whole infrastructure.
I bet it would. I mean... Hey, Bill, how are you doing?
I'm recovering.
Recovering well?
Yeah, for the most part. Liquid diet sucks.
Well, okay, yeah. That does suck, but
I can't believe
that's
people
just
do
part
it
of the recovery.
intentionally. Yeah, I go on a cleanse once a year. I'm like, why?
Why do you hate yourself?
Why? There are easier ways. Just go to fucking gym.
What kind of cleanse? The kind of no eating cleanse, or?
Oh my god. Oh, like a liquid diet cleanse. Like there's people who do this shit.
Well, so
Funsies.
what's funny is that every 48 days, which is considered to be a full mandala of the body cycle, blah 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 blah. Anybody go deaf yet?
Why is people going deaf?
Oh, just because it sounds like utter nonsense, but there's a physiological cycle that kind of happens over a period of time where you're supposed to fast, and it's roughly 48 days. And if you don't eat for a couple of days at the peak points that you're supposed to do that, you'll kind of reset things and keep things going. Because technically speaking, is once you're grown up, you really don't need to eat food more. You just need a bare minimum amount to make things work. But because the way that everything works right now with food and fast food in specific, and a lot of the junk that gets put in there, if you're not eating lots of raw foods, you're exposing yourself to a bunch of other chemicals and such like that eating becomes like preternaturally important.
So you can see behind me one of the gifts I got for Christmas and another gift I got for Christmas. Pretty cool. It was this,
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
and then this artwork up here.
Nice.
Poor Scott, having all kinds of fun issues.
Yeah. I mean, if we have to, I can. Excuse me. If we have to, we can delay it one more week if we absolutely need to, and go from there. I was actually realizing that the best way to handle this when people are missing is to have another different game to play with, so that players who aren't present can be intermixed
so you
into
can
a
have
different one.
Campaigns going
Right.
at the same time.
I could run something like, say, in Pathfinder versus Shadows, and just run that when
You know, we should do is try getting GameCat in here and like introduce him to the mechanics, and maybe have him create a character, and then we could have like an introduction campaign just for him.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, I want him involved.
Scott.
How are we doing there, Scott? Is it coming
I'm
out or?
restarting. I'm
Okay.
restarting. It's like I click something and then it's like delay, and then it will click, or like I type like hello and I'll be like H.
That was weird. You went hello, and then I saw Cause hit hello in there, like it was instantaneous. Yeah, weird.
So everything.
Hello.
Everything's on like a lag. If I do a quick something, it'll go through, but like changing channels in Discord to type in a new thing, it's just like 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
But of course, like it's working fine on my phone.
Yeah.
I
want to
from my
I want to show you guys this. This is like the coolest thing. It's just a stick. I say just a stick, but I actually don't look at it that way. But this is the shillelagh I got.
Oh, nice.
Right? So this is just the head of it, right? And it's all lacquered out.
Stick.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, you can see that it's got the definition, because it's really like, this doesn't look anything like the other ones that they've already shown.
Blurring on the top because it's like out of focus and it looks a little phallic.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's what I was saying.
Guys, I just want to show you something.
It's my shillelagh!
Uh-huh.
I like hitting things with it.
Yeah, no kidding. Like,
Keep under your kilt.
no, I'm frickin' banned.
My dad, when we were camping once, found a similar length stick that had this really cool gnarled end, and he like took it and shaped it into, like smoothed it out, or like kept it oiled and everything like that, and he had that as like his walking stick, this like legit shillelagh.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is that this is actually made from blackthorn wood, which I
Nice.
actually stressed it a little bit whenever I got it. I was like, let's see how tough this is. And it's like, you can't, even at this straight, like, it is fucking hard. Like, it is just, I'm not helping myself with this phallic thing. So,
It's awesome though.
yes, it is very awesome. I like it a lot. What were we doing last time, Ken? Do help me out.
Oh my god, it's been like a month.
Oh, let's see here. Let me scroll up.
By the way, Ken's gift. Thanks, Ken.
Oh, is it working well?
Oh, yeah, it's great. I can hold a whole half pot of a coffee in there, and a little
It
over,
stays hot
actually.
all day?
Yeah, it stays hot for hours and hours and hours.
That's what they were saying.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Is this actually like Cordova? Yeah, I don't know that brand
It's
very
like
well.
a off-brand Yeti or whatever.
Yeah, it works.
Sasquatch.
Like, I wasn't necessarily expecting much, but yeah.
Whatever the like super high-end like thermos cup.
Yeah, Contigo is the one that I have. That's the like big swimmer brand with all their extra bells and
Let's
whistles.
see. So the recap from 12.1 was that we were cornered and attacked by Alan the Templar. After some fighting, we were able to escape into the marketplace. Natalia and the bodyguard were able to make it. We had everyone with us. Bert says hello to us. Then we were following with Danny because Danny needed to like catch up, I think.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you guys picked up your equipment and everything.
Yeah, Hugh got the fully armored trench coat. Malcolm got a makeover with his gear. We're all together again. Let's see here. Like we go to Anubis's shop.
Oh yeah, we went to
We have the sands. So
Yeah,
now
we
we
got
just
the
need
sands.
now we need to figure out how to expose.
Right. So we went to a bookstore with a demon. Books. We'll need require some form of translation. So we got a book that had that we need to translate. Tobias bought the book for us. Let's see here. Oh, one little hint that what might be good to drop that Dee had given us was, or at least the demon said that the one who brought the book might still be in the marketplace. We go to a hawker to find a lens that lets us translate things.
Oh right, the Google Lens.
Yeah, when holding the lens over things, it makes them understandable. And we decide to head back to Danny's home. We emerged from the marketplace from a new location because the other one became compromised.
Oh yeah, they rotated the entrance, so we were like in a different part. Yeah, it's all coming back.
It's all coming back to you. Did you ever watch Boomerang from Cartoon Network? I used to say that all the time.
I never did.
All coming back to you.
I thought you meant like the old Eddie Murphy movie.
Oh no.
Yeah, Cartoon Network that had all the old Hanna-Barbera and stuff.
Yeah. I never really watched it, but like it was always right next to Cartoon Network when I had that, and so I'd land on it sometimes. Anyway, the title of the book was "Gathering Data for Extra-Dimensional Phenomena." It has references to New Avalon, references to equipments and tools that we've never heard of.
I forgot that I put that reference to New Avalon in there. I'm excited about that shit.
When we encounter a concept that we don't have an equivalent idea or concept, the lens makes a best guess. The text is not of this earth. Who got this? Oh, I wrote this as a note. Who got this book from another dimension? Are they still alive? There are references in the book that could be analogous to our Sands of Time. That's where I left off. So it looks like we were just diving into to investigating that book and learning about what we need and all that stuff. So our current quest is to use the Sands of Time to make our current enemies, which are the 86 Dread Kings, the Red Devils, and the Templar, forget about us. Oh, let's give a moment while Scott tries to switch.
Yep.
Good luck.
Crossing
Godspeed.
fingers.
Fingers. Better cross dicks too.
Hey,
Yep, got it right there.
Did it work?
I can hear you,
I-
and it's not
yeah, I
going
can
all
hear you.
zoomy weird, so that's a start.
And no one's crossing dicks?
I don't have 2 dicks to cross.
And I walked into that conversation.
If you don't have 2, just borrow your friends. Okay. So, yeah, like I typed in, okay, gonna try this. And I was like, okay, gonna try this. And I was like, no!
Wonder why
But
it's lagging so bad. It's
it's
just
so
a type.
weird.
Because like that's not an internet thing.
No, like, my connection speed, everything seems fine. It's been doing it all day. So,
I wonder, maybe there's a way to clear your cache or something. Like maybe it's just like too bloated or something.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have this little thing that says I've got 10.4 gigs of available memory.
Oh, you know what you should try is go to Discord's website, like sign on to the app from the website, and try talking to us, and that will tell you if it's the app or not.
Oh.
I think it's discord.gg.
Oh, I mean, as long as I can talk, then I'm okay.
That's
I can
true.
just have trouble with roll. Okay, let's see if
Yeah,
video.
I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna try rolling dice.
My video didn't break anything.
It doesn't seem like it.
Hey,
You seem to be
the roll
doing
worked.
fine. And forgive my distraction, I was finishing one last thing up so that I could
Doing some
focus
wisdom?
on this. Yeah. I try to do talks after I get done with work, and they've been really awesome so far.
It's a good way
so.
to decompress, I bet.
It's also a good way to stay consistent.
That also. Speaking of consistent, the videos are looking good. Bill? Did you ever watch it? I was wondering
Was
if you
Bill's
remember
story
the
time
you told us.
interesting?
It was when you were talking about how when you came out and how you thought you were actually in Darktide.
Yeah, that was not fun.
I think it was funny.
Oh yeah, well, I'll put you under and see how you like it.
Oh, I'm gonna open up my OneNote now that I think about it, because I've got all my notes and stuff like that in there. Oh, so minor tangent, but it's still related to the game here. Scott, did you see any of the stuff that I was like rolling around in the OneNote for the CRB? Have you seen any of that, or have you been in it in a while?
I haven't seen it.
I'm assuming no from the expression on your face.
I think he's
Oh, it's frozen.
Oh, it's He looks so mean capturing that.
He's typing now.
All right. I now definitely have the best, like, kind of emote for really, like,
Oh, you captured that?
uh-huh.
Yeah. Scott, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
It does look really good. It looks more like, really? Are you
Yeah,
serious?
yeah.
That's right when he froze, too. So
Yeah.
perfect.
Got an emote for the channel, yay!
There you go.
Yay.
It'll be a bitch to clear that out, by the way. Because in GIMP, it can't recognize that, so I can't chroma key all that stuff out. I'll have to
do it
manually do it,
automatically.
yeah. It's all black, too. I'd be like, and just be,
And I have no ears.
yeah.
No, he has to
Well.
chroma key the headphones.
But did you happen to see, like I said, did you happen to see any of the changes that I'd made? And, well, not changes, but like my weird spewing of notations in the combat section that was in the CRB text? Because I was just trying to like muscle out some ideas.
In OneNote?
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh,
I was
wow.
gonna say, like, maybe you haven't checked it out. It may have just missed your notice, but But it did happen. It's in there.
Yay.
It's-
Thick.
Yeah, I'm fucking around with some ideas, and the biggest thing that I'm trying to do is get a grasp of combat and how it runs in this case by a different method. So I'm just screwing with like the initiative aspect of it right now, which is I might choose to do sort of like a side-based initiative where it's like, you know, we just roll together and I just pick the highest initiative out of everyone, compare that against the group, and then we just do side by side and work it through that way, because that's another method that I came across. Like, well, it's kind of what I used to do in a sense, but that's also
When I had a big group, I would do fast and slow.
yeah.
So everyone rolls, and then I would divide it in half, and you're in the fast group, you're in the slow group, and then I would do enemies in the fast and slow. So it works because then you can kind of coordinate more easily.
Yeah, and what's funny is that I want to be able to have sort of what I call, like, I want battle momentum, is what I'm basically referring to it as. Is I want battle momentum, because normally, if I don't run it with initiative, I just run it based on, not initiative, but I run it on who is able to act in the moment, and I'm the judge at the start. Then the order just kind of stays that way until something massive changes it. You know, when something tactically occurs that would force things to be different, I just adjust and tell you who's going next because of that change, right? So the problem is not a lot of people like that. It's like, the GM has too much power. He must be slain. Like, and he froze again. Oh, darn it, I didn't get it.
You got it?
No, I had him looking like doing the slightly dour expression. I wanted to capture that one.
And you're just trying to capture his essence today, are you?
Yeah, just like the Gelflings
I'm
and all of
giving
a
you
sudden.
plenty of opportunities of
Essence! Take their essence!
How's your living situation around you? Is it still apocalyptic?
It's calmed down.
I've been getting all kinds of news alerts about like what's going on with that.
Yeah.
I am laughing at you. Like, we're getting about almost 200% normal rainfall. I'm going like, hey, the Pacific Northwest came for a visit. How you liking it so far?
Frozen Scott says, not.
Yeah, he's frozen again.
Yep.
He's back.
Yep.
I'm just gonna switch to my phone for audio.
Works.
I can't I get 30 seconds of good conversation, and then it'll stop, and then I'll get the next 30 seconds compressed in 5 seconds.
Can you try going to the discord.gg and seeing if it makes a difference? Just to see if the app is what's the problem, or if it's actual bandwidth issues.
No, I think it's my computer. Like, I just click to open a browser.
And we lost him.
Yeah. Well,
He should have clicked to open that browser.
right. This might end up being a more Dark Tide Night evening anyways.
Yeah, this sucks.
Yeah, it kind of blows. We're having too many...
Hey, it's Grayley.
Yeah. Welcome,
Hi, Grayley.
Grayley. Grayley got my shillelagh. I see that.
Wow. Making the rhymes.
Yeah.
Doing the times.
I'm just feeling like a child.
Well, at the very least, if we're gonna postpone it, let's make some detailed notes.
Yeah, well, so I want to talk about the combat system, because that's the one thing that, like I said, I was hammering for a little bit. And since obviously the technical issues are going to stop us from having a full-blown, like, actual session, I want to get this out anyway, because I haven't talked to my team in a while about any of this stuff.
We haven't gathered.
Yeah.
All right, going to the OneNote.
All right. Yeah. So
To the OneNote.
first things first, I have to admonish something. There, let's change this up. We need different music for this. It's important. How's about?
I'm blue. Da ba dee ba do da.
What's gonna be the proper music for this kind of thing here?
Was it Bottled Lightning?
Bottled Lightning? Yeah, that's where I kind of went going nuts a little bit, I guess.
Okay.
Wait, what the hell was Bottled Lightning? That may have been part of it. I was just like jamming ideas into things. But in the combat section of CRB text, that is where I put my side notes. It's alongside the main text.
Okay,
It's alongside.
CRB.
Oh, I
CRB
scrolled
text.
over. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
Okay.
I have a
Is it all
tendency.
the stuff that you crossed out?
No, so the stuff I crossed out was like I'm like no, I don't want that. Nope.
Fast action, simple action, standard action, getting.
Yeah,
action.
that's what I was working through in my head in terms of like combat rounds and all that other stuff.
Action changes,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah, trying to understand the action economy and trying to make it something that's less. I pay you $1 and you pay me back change or something. Like I'm trying to make it more organic somehow. And it's like because like I said, I need the mechanics to disappear.
That's interesting because now there's more mechanics.
Well, there isn't more. That's going to replace. So there will either be less or there will
Oh,
be the same amount, right? Because they're going to overtake, not acclimate and grow
Overtake, not acclimate.
more. Yeah.
This just sounds. It rhymes again.
All right. I don't think this is the right music for this either. I'm actually feeling myself cringe. Why? I like this music. I like it. You know what? I'm going to put on...
Oh, you know what? There's a new Versus album. Why don't you start that up?
Is there... Oh, you are... That would... Yes, let's do that.
I just went right into your neuron activation.
Oh, yeah, you totally spawned a creative chubby. I want to go find it. So nothing I wrote, by the way, is at all in stone. It's just me rattling on. And
So the clash roll.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
The idea being that when you clash with an opponent, you're rolling attacks simultaneously, and he who has the higher attack manages to land the hit. Whether or not the armor absorbs it is up to the armor rules and all of that. But whenever...
Okay, so we're still doing initiative through combat.
I like I said, the initiative right now is in a state of flux in my head, not in the game. So we're still keeping what we're doing right now, being the standard initiative is what I'm calling it. Standard initiative is where everybody rolls, and the enemy as a singular or group rolls as well based on whatever the hell it is I've established, and then we just follow the order that comes up. That's standard initiative. Everybody kind of gets that who's ever played for a while. What's the volume number of that Versus track, man? Because I've got 23 and I don't see it showing up.
Let me see. Just a moment.
Yes, do please. I would like to hear it. Anyway, the initiative.
Well, that would kind of make sense in the concept of what we deal with in Darktide, right?
Right.
Or just any combat situation, which is you have the respondent and the aggressor.
Right. It's always like that. You're always playing backwards and forwards between. That's why it has designated attackers and defenders, right? Because the flow of it does do that. And playing Darktide especially, I can feel that. I can feel it very much because I can feel when I'm on the offensive, and I definitely know when I'm on the defensive. It's a sharp contrast. Huh?
I sent you a YouTube link to their official channel. They
Yeah.
have 45 or 2 hour Midnight Sun, Dark Clubbing, Cyberpunk, Dark Techno, Mid-Tempo Beat.
Ooh, well, just do the Cyberpunk one. That's 42 minutes. All right. Boop. That doesn't mean I will kill the current share screen.
Okay, yeah, and I can see that the composed of engagement. Group A attacks, Group B defends. Once all groups have had a chance to make an attack, the round resets.
Right. Let's turn this down. I don't need to blow my air guns out. Aye. I love Versus.
You chose the most recent one from one day ago.
Yep.
That's new.
This is Versus music on YouTube. All right. It also kind of adds a nice little aesthetic.
Aesthetic.
Yeah. All right. So, like I said, this is just all running ideas that I have in my head right now. Okay. So I'm trying to sort out. This is the conundrum that I am trying to. I don't even think that's audible to anybody else on the outside there. There we go. I'm trying to find a way to make the combat appear, or at least function in an organic way. In other words, I want the chaos manageable, but I want it to still feel chaotic. That is the balance I'm trying to accomplish.
So when the group gets hit, they are pinned down in a defensive position or responding action.
Right.
That the players feel it because they're getting attacked essentially in mass.
Yeah, that's if you're talking about groups, because initiative, no matter what, we're talking about individual players. No matter how many groups we're dealing with, individual players are always the point of fixation. So we have to deal with it from the player's perspective. Not every player is going to have the same. Technically, if it's organic as I would like it to be, every player would be kind of in different roles, but it wouldn't be hard to follow. Meaning, one player may be on defense while another player is on offense, right? And you should be able to track who's doing what. And oftentimes, whenever you have a standard initiative, it's attack, 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 and then defense from the enemy, attack, attack, and then it's flips where everybody else is on defense and the enemy is on the attack, right? And if it's just a single enemy, they can only go for one or however many times they can throw it out there, or AOE's and stuff like that. Looking good there, Scott. You're still muted though, just so you know.
I think it's by design.
Yeah. All right. So the major thing here is so I wanted to basically find a way to communicate, or at least make it possible for a GM to run a more chaotic style combat the way that I would do it in my head, right? Because I can manage that. Like I could run you guys through a setup where I don't do the initiative. I just start the combat, and you guys would use combat sense as a means of, detecting shifts in the combat situation. Like you would say, oh, tactically they're moving over that way, and then you could make tactics rolls and stuff like that to kind of know how you're going to move, but it wouldn't be relevant in determining the combat order. So I would remove that and just show you how I run it whenever it's just, the people involved, because I can keep in my head who's doing what, where, how it all works out, and it's way more jumbled up than just a
Well, I like the idea, but at the same time, what you've just described is a very D-specific thing.
I know, but that's the same thing with the entirety of Shadows, so I would definitely say it is plausible to construct at least something that would come close, right? Obviously, yeah. I can, if I can come up with something that as systemically works closely with that as a concept, if I can do that, it would also make Shadows stand out. It would make it stand out a lot more because, let's face it, I mean, unless you're part of certain groups that only like intrigue or, like spy works, which, Shadows can do all of that. But combat is one of the most exciting things about playing this game. It just is. You're pitting yourself and all of those abilities that you have against something, and you don't know if it's going to work. Right?
Good question.
Yep.
So I see that you tried to denote 3 types of actions.
Yeah, I wasn't playing around. I wasn't sure if I wanted 3 types or not.
Right, but when you have stuff like simple actions, and you have 2 of those per turn, does that mean that you can mix and match?
Yeah.
Any standard action then 2 simple actions, or
right.
Simple, standard, simple,
yeah.
kind of thing?
Right. So what I was basically thinking is that fast actions are free. Do them as basically free and infinite. In other words, you can do that as many times as you need to in a round, even if it seems implausible. But I'm thinking about it in terms of making intellectual skill checks, like rolling tactics, stuff like that, where you can try and make an assessment. Shouting something. It's one of those things where it's it makes reasonable sense. Simple actions were the things that require your focus, but they can be performed in the midst of combat. And then you have the actual actions, which require you to have all your focus, like making an attack or taking an aimed shot, or in this case, if you're on defense, it's just basically running your parry. That's considered to be an action of a sort, right? So it's but that right there is exactly where I got kind of muffled up, because I was sitting there oh crap, I consider defense to be almost fast action all the way through, being able to defend. But I'm sitting there going if I did it the way I was just talking about, then I would say you could probably defend once, twice, 3 times, and then run out. Because it's you'd get your 1 action, then 2 simple actions to do something else maybe. Because like I said, it kind of has to balance the equation similar to a chemistry set, or similar to chemistry. It's what you do to one side has to be done to the other. So I have to be very careful about how I detail all this stuff, because it reflects on itself.
Okay, I'm going to take some notes because I want to ask you some questions.
Yeah, please do. Here's
in the book, I kind of have written out a similar quick action, versus the standard action sort of thing.
Yep.
So,
like I said, this was me brainstorming. I am certain that the combat is already kind of in a good place, but for some reason I was like, I got to get this out, and so I just was like,
Well, another thing to keep in mind is we already pretty much intuitively do this.
yeah.
This is just putting it down on paper for the CRB.
Right. Yeah, and right now we're using standard initiative, and I'm allowing certain things. Obviously, I can't account for anything that happens during a game session entirely, but I have to at least try and make it possible. Because like Fate Core, is it Fate Core? I think Fate Core is the one. They have a really kind of ingenious way of doing things, and I need to read it because a lot of people really like how they actually run the combat. It becomes more narrative than role-based. The role's determining outcome, but not much else. And it's like, oh, cool. So if it's super hyper fast, and they can do that, like I want to read up on Fate Core and find out how they do their combat to see what they do. If I like it, then maybe I can find some kind of like twisted version that I can shadify it and throw it in here and make it my own, just like I've done everything else.
Shadowfy it?
Yeah, shadowfy it.
I know what you said, but that's not what I heard.
Yes, not shatify it.
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, so
let
the
me ask
one...
a few questions,
Yep.
just so I can determine some things.
Go for it.
Based on what I'm reading, it sounds like we have two kind of phases to start with. There's before combat, and then there's combat.
Yeah, there's technically 3. There's engagement, which is the start of the entire combat round. Okay, and then it just circles between the actual combat actions and the things that happens, and then the resets of every round until it ends. Right. So that's
right.
Yeah.
So the what if I was looking at a Visio, like a workflow, you've got your starting point.
Yeah.
And then someone decides that they want to initiate combat. Either some NPC is attacking you, or you as a player is attacking them.
Right.
And then what I heard you say is, or what I read here is that we do like it sounds like, so let me ask you this. Whoever attacks first, do they kind of get a free attack?
Well, they're attacking first, aren't they? See, that's the funny thing about it, is that what determines who goes first in a fight, like in a real fight, this is where I'm always coming at the game system with, is the reality and like how I actually... Right. Yeah. In a real fight, it's he who notices what's going on and has the skills. It's those two things together. It's awareness and discipline both that allow a person to react. Now, what happens is if somebody's really sloppy and they telegraph their intent, the other guy picks it up and goes like, oh, this dude's going to try and hit me. He can be prepared, which means that even though this guy is trying to make an attack, this other dude can decide he wants to defend, and if he defends, he might get a bonus because he knows what's coming. He can predict what's coming up. And so he'll defend almost offensively. Does that make sense? It's like, it's one of those things where they can determine how they're going to act, or they can strike the other person before they have a chance to make their move, right? Sure. In other words, the awareness allows the decision making to happen for that person who is the most aware. So
like if I'm a quick draw, right? I see you going for your gun, but I'm faster on the draw.
Right. And that's where the
attacked first.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But
well, it sounds like we need to do some designations, because some of the things I'm reading here is, as an attacker and a defender.
Yes.
And it seems to me that like, so what I'm kind of gathering in my head as I'm reading this and hearing you talk is that like we have something that's like, okay, we're initiating combat. That one person becomes the attacker, whoever decides to attack.
Yeah.
And whoever they're attacking becomes the defender. And then everyone else in the proximity who has awareness,
right,
now does their reflex, right?
Yeah.
To determine how they act next. Who acts next? Because whoever has the faster reflexes can act next, right?
Yeah.
So that seems to make sense to me. And then what I heard is, so that's the first round. The first round is just everyone's reacting.
So the first part of that is engagement. That's the who's aware of what's going on and when, right? That's the engagement point, because you have people that are either stealthing and trying to get a free hit before that. That's why the engagement phase is there, because if there's somebody up there trying to sneak an attack in, trying to subvert your awareness that they're going to try and hurt you, if that is the way they want to go at it, then they have the opportunity, and you might be engaged in combat without knowing it, but it's on anyway, right?
The sniper on the roof
has
been following you since you left the building. they get that advantage to, attack you earlier.
Well, they get basically a free attack.
Yeah.
Unless
And
you
that's
notice.
it's legit.
The way that the rules were written out originally is like, as an ambush, they would get a +5 modifier.
Yeah.
Right? Which,
yeah.
since we're rolling d10s, that's a almost guarantee to be first.
Yeah.
Well, and so
You might miss, but
yeah.
So
we have our first phase, which is engagement. Skills used are reflex, essence check, awareness.
So where is this written?
It's in the combat section, but you have to scroll over.
You have to go to the right.
CRB text and then scroll a whole page over. That's where this is.
Yeah, it's text that's on the right of the main text of the CRB text of combat. Wow, that was a really jumbled sentence.
Wait, what?
So go to the CRB text tab.
So synergy system, CRB text, combat. Once you're on that page, there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I was just, and like I said, none of what I wrote in there is in stone. It's literally just my own brain barf thrown into the thing because I was trying to sort some things out.
Yes. Okay. Ah, damn. Okay. Errata. Like, we're not even published, but we've got errata. I love it.
Hell
Okay.
yeah.
So after the engagement phase, what I saw here, which makes kind of sense to me, is that so everyone gets in their kerfuffle, right? Everyone has the chance to react to what just happened. And then the next step, 3 seconds later, because we're moving fast, is everyone does a combat sense to determine what they think is going to happen next.
Well, see, like I said, that combat sense would go back to a much more docile role. It would not determine initiative in this case. What I'm talking about is that you'd have engagement, which would almost determine the initiative order by writ, because who gets hit, but there would have to be certain tactical changes during the flow of combat that would reorganize how people do their thing.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. It's like,
Yeah.
I thought what I was thinking as I read this was that engagement happens after the first round of combat. Everyone does another check of some kind, and then
they just go. Like I said, they would fall into an order on a narrative basis without using a roll. If the player wanted to try and make a determination, or if I said, "Hey, roll combat sense because I know something's happening, but the players may not," then they would roll combat sense to see if they notice what has changed on the field. Right? As like I said, that's why I'm saying combat sense in this instance of my brain barf would not be an initiative determinant. Okay, it's not something that's meant to actually help initiative. It's just meant to help you make a better decision, or at least notice something that changes, so you can appropriately be tactical.
So I understand what you're saying, that the combat would evolve as you move along.
Yeah.
But can you take me through a round of just 3 people, maybe 2 attackers and 1 get dude, and how you would determine who gets to move first in the next round?
Okay.
What actions I'm trying to make this into an algorithm, right? So I want to say
that's why I'm walking you guys through it right now anyway, or at least I'm just kind of futzing around with it. So this is how this would work. All right, let's just say that we hit engagement phase, meaning it's not something that I just identify as a GM and go we're in engagement at this point. I need them. Right. Blah, blah, blah. Obviously I want to be more discreet. So let's say that it's one guy walking down an alley, and he's got 2 guys that are behind him that are going to try and mug him, right? He's got a certain level of skill in combat, so do they. It's mostly street fighting type stuff, but they're mostly equal for the sake of this example, okay? Mm-hmm. So what happens then is that they're following behind. Now, naturally, what I would do is, we're going to say that the one person is the player in this instance. I'd say, okay, I want you to make me a combat sense check because he's being threatened, and I want to make sure that he notices that he's going to be threatened, right? So that's where the combat sense comes in. If he's successful, he notices that there are 2 guys with ill intent walking behind him, and they're closing distance, right? That means that he is aware. Now, what happens at this engagement phase, because we're still in that phase, he can pretend that he's not aware that they're doing this. He can act like that is he's just oblivious that these 2, right? That would already create a change in how the combat runs. Or he can go a different route, and these are by far not the only 2 options he has, but he could also turn around and confront them and be hey, fuck off. Maybe no combat happens because of that, right? If he decides to confront them, maybe nothing happens, or maybe they charge, right?
The options are as limitless as your RP potential.
Right. That's why the engagement phase is so damn important, because depending on how what happens, so I would be like, okay, so how do you want to play this? And he's like, well, I'm going to play it off like I don't notice so I can let them close in, because maybe he's confident that he can take these two dudes out. So he will then roll something to basically, it's a deception check. He'll try to deceive them into making them believe that he's not aware they're there, or that they're going to be chasing him down. The tables have already...
They know that you're there, but do they know that you know that they're there?
Right, exactly. It's one of those things. So if he properly deceives them, they think they're walking up on someone who has no idea what their intent is. Already, the situation has already flipped. Now he has surprise against his two dudes if he's successful in that deception check. All right? If he fails it, they get the surprise anyway. And the reason why is because he doesn't realize because he can't look back and be like, hey, you guys surprised? Like, he won't know.
They don't know that we know that.
Yeah, exactly. So you use these rolls to kind of like determine where the pieces are going to be, right? That's how you get everything in order already. So, like, let's just say that he is aware. We'll just go with it. We'll say that he's aware and he manages to deceive them and they don't realize that he is aware that they're coming on, right? They walk. They close distance. Now, what happens is, like I said, he gets surprise. So when they come in for an attack, he's the one who's the attacker and they're the defenders. This is where all the stuff other comes in, like Melee Master and all that other stuff. If he doesn't have Melee Master, he's got one go if he uses a melee weapon, right? So let's say he has a knife, right? Just to mix it up. So he's got a knife. They get within bleed distance. He turns around, makes a cut. He gets a +3 to make that strike because he's catching them by surprise. They don't realize that he's ready for him and prepared. So the other guy makes a defense roll with no bonuses or anything changed because the +3 applies to the attacker in this case. If he gets cut, he'll step back. Here's the way that the natural order would go. I wouldn't roll initiative at this point. I would just have the other guy fill in and make an attack immediately. So the guy who just swung and cut one of his attackers is now standing back on the defensive because his buddy is coming around close to his flank, right? So now he's on the defense. He has to defend against the next oncoming attack, right? With this scenario, it's extremely easy to see how it goes backward, forward, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because after he defends, the other guy is going to have to make it through. He now gets to make his attack against whatever target he wants. Then it's the other guy's turn. Rotate, 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 rotate. Unless something seriously tactical occurs, that order doesn't necessarily change. In terms of game mechanics, it would just go in that loop until it ended.
Yeah, I was trying to write it all down. So, as you describe it, it makes sense, but I'm trying to make it so it's algorithmic. Depending on who attacked first, in this case, because of the successful rolls, our player character decides to attack or is able to attack first.
For lack of better phrasing, the one who actually takes the initiative.
Right.
In this case.
Anyway, but I'm not going to use that word.
Yeah.
Because that has connotations in many systems.
Oh, I know. It's context.
Yeah. So he turns around. He tries stabbing at the guy. He cuts at him. Guy 1, I'm going to say.
Right. Yep.
So now the guy 1 is defending, and because they're engaged, guy 2, who is free to attacks, and so now player character is defending. What I missed in your description is, would that mean next if guy 1 was not taken down, like he just cut him?
Yeah.
But he's still...
Guy 1 is now the one that moves next. Yep.
Now he's attacking, and then it's back to player character to defend.
Right.
Or to attack, I mean, because now he's like, okay, he defends, and then now it's his turn.
Yes.
To attack.
You got it. And then it would be guy 2. But here's the thing, is that if, in this case, let's say that the sequence travels out that way, right? We have to be at least aware that the variable of change is going to happen in this case. It could be that I decide as these, enemy NPCs that, they do this little back and forth between the two of them where they're kind of one-on-oneing him, and maybe they don't get anywhere, right? So it's guy 1 attacks, player defends, player attacks, guy 2 attacks, and player defends. Then what happens is that they're
one-on-one.
Right. So then the two guys are like, wait a minute, this is where I'm talking about tactical change. Then they go like, let's hit this dude together. And so instead of having 2 attackers, mechanically that's actually more sound because it means that there's more coming at him at once. But it also it's kind of weirdly like sectional. It's like, yeah, he's got to fight more multiplicitous attacks, but he doesn't have the advantage because his numbers are no longer good. So if they decide to attack him together, then he has to defend against both of them simultaneously, which is why defense is considered a fast action, because he can try and defend against both attacks at the same time. That can be like moving out of the way or just changing his position. Whatever his action he decides to be will be his defense. He doesn't always have to parry. He can try and reposition, right? But if they move together, he's kind of at a penalty at that point. If he decides to take on more attackers at once than he's supposed to be able to handle, it's going to penalize you, which I didn't think about until just now. And I'm going like, what would that penalization be? What if it's like, I was sitting there, I thought about it just now. I was like, what if it was like -1 per person extra? Like something like that. Like if you're fighting off 3 attackers, your shit's at a -2 on defense because you're having to deal with 3 people.
We should have, now that we're talking about it, we should have some advantages that are about... Like,
exactly, it opens the door for that too.
You have like Drunken Fist and stuff like that. Or like, where you're just like, you go with the flow.
Yeah.
Combat flow? That'd be a good...
Yeah, like I said, combat, that was like battle momentum, combat momentum, stuff like that, yeah.
Well, I mean, like, the advantage...
Or an advantage, yeah.
Flow,
yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, see, that's the reason why I want to hash this out, because there's so much potential for really good advantages and disadvantages. There's just really, really good potential for it.
One other question I had that I think is there's certain things in our system, or I guess your system.
That's ours now, buddy.
There's certain things in the system that are very stacked, I'd
Mm-hmm.
say.
Yeah.
Like, so as an example, you've even pointed out, Ranged Master, Melee Master, Lucky, those types of advantages are like no-brainers for anyone who knows this system. So I feel like we should have
some kind of defensive advantage that goes against those.
Well, that
as a
would
balance.
be good.
Yep.
But I was thinking, obviously, but I was thinking that we should make it so that some advantages or certain things that give such immense combat advantages should have like triggers or something that you have to do or some kind of downside to them, or that we have more advantages that can give.
I think that we can create.
Stuff.
We can create advantages that are offensive and advantages that are defensive. They can easily be sectioned, because if we have defensive advantages, it would counterplay what's going on. Something like, if you had like a mystical warrior type advantage, like what you're talking about with the Drunken Master, where basically, if somebody's using multiple attacks against you,
each
right.
subsequent attack is like less successful, stuff like that.
Well, specifically, like in your case, we're talking about how the player is affected with the advantage. So we might say it's like you get a +3 on your defense whenever you're dealing with somebody who uses multiple attacks simultaneously to come after you, right?
And that's actually really good because it works with either multiple players or one person or one attacker that attacks multiple times.
Exactamundo, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
It does balance itself away a little bit and gives it, and it also makes it much more precious to get advantages like that.
So maybe we should make those a little bit more expensive.
Yeah,
and also,
maybe.
I think that maybe they should only be 1-rankers, because every time Bill plays, he plays such awesome characters, and he always has so many melee masters, and he goes into a combat, and I remember writing down is like, oh, Bill has 4 attacks.
Yeah.
And like in a game like Shadows, it can be decided in 2 rounds. When he gets 6 rounds worth of attacks in 1 round, like it's like, oh, he just wins.
Yeah, he could. Well, the monsters and stuff that I threw at you guys were capable of soaking that damage, and that was my compensatory revelation for it. Was like just making sure that they had enough. But I don't want to be like Diablo 4 and just say, oh, it's tougher because the enemies have got more health. That's like, I want some significantly more. I want more sophistication that's fun to play.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I guess what I was trying to get at. The root of this is that we have 2 advantages that affect combat in a very, very visceral way,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we have several advantages and disadvantages that affect combat too, like the one that makes you freeze up, combat paralysis.
Yeah.
Like those are good disadvantages. But what I was saying is, I feel like we should have more varied things that can get you. I like the idea of defining specific actions and how fast they are, and how many of those you get, because then we can have advantages that give you more of those things if you meet certain criteria.
Right.
For example,
Yeah.
like
Go
a
ahead.
drunken master, maybe they need to be drunk, which makes it so that on defense they're really good and on attack they're really good, but they're like if you hit them in the head once, they're out or something like that. You know what I
Well,
mean?
in this case, Drunken Master, what I would do with Drunken Master as an advantage, it'd be something similar to pain tolerance, but it would be like, more or less you can ignore, you'd only be able to get it to once. Like this would be very specific since Drunken Master is so narrow a name. But if it was literally the Kung Fu style, like what would happen is that you would basically be resistant to various conditions. Like you couldn't be hit with disorientation, you're already drunk. Like, that doesn't hurt you.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
We have 2 advantages that make it so that, like, the most powerful thing you can do in the game, a standard action, you get 2 of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's amazing. And maybe we can make it so that there's, split it apart into multiple types of melee, multiple types of ranged. Because I remember with Scott, and he had, like, with his gun kata, he could unload his, like, full pistol, reload, and unload it again. That's how fast he was.
Yeah, the
which is
reload.
cool.
Yeah, the reload action was a simple action, and with the way my brain puke was working. Yeah,
But,
so
like, because of all of the advantages he had, it made it so that
he could just swim. He could basically
Scott
throw
and Bill
bullets
were
constantly.
just ridiculously effective in combat.
Yeah.
And-
Well, yeah, and that's the cool thing about Shadows is that it's organic. It's organic that way. But you're right. We do need to have more defensive. That's why I want the combat system to be like really reviewed because it's such a pivotal spoke on the whole experience. And
it'd be nice to be able to because one of the problems of any types of games like this is that people always want to min-max.
Sure.
Some people do, right? Some people will roleplay like Bill and Scott. Like we actually have a really good group because they actually stick to the roleplay instead of just trying to go for the best of the best. But
well, I
have a friend whose goal is to make the half-elf vampire centaur who worships Shiva and has 9 flaming swords. But that's not to power game. That's just he likes to push the rules to their limit to see if
that's fine too.
And I like having people around like that.
That's why I'm saying it's good to have defense. Like it would be cool if some of these disadvantages or advantages for combat for defensive, some enemies can get them too, right?
Oh yeah, no, they can, yeah.
Well, I had designed a character that was his martial art was Aikido, right? And so having a maybe as a martial art technique allows you to do a melee attack against multiple opponents without penalty.
Or hell, we could make martial arts even more interesting. There literally could be like advantages that are designed specifically for the martial art you pick and aren't accessible under normal circumstances. That could be another allure of having martial arts as a skill because you have access to advantages that you don't get any other way. That sounds cool. I like that. I almost broke my phone.
Yeah, write that down. But what I was going to say is we should. I think another thing that we don't take, for lack of a better term, this is no pun intended. We don't take advantage of with our advantages is prerequisites and more penalties on what you need. Because yes, the cost is there, so you can make something cost 40 points. But I think also hey, just because you saved up all your points, if you don't have enough strength, you can't do this. You know what I mean? And you do have some of that, but I think that's a good example of martial arts. You should have certain reflex and.
Well, you could. Well, I would make it very simple because I don't want to add too many numbers. In this case, if we're talking about martial arts specific advantages, I would almost make it like at rank 2, these advantages become open. At rank 4, these advantages come open. At rank 6, just go by rank because that's exactly how it works inside of the martial arts world. Your understanding and achievement by technique, goes through it. And technically speaking, black belt is 7th rank because there's at least because black belt, if you talk to any martial artist, black belt's when you actually get to really learn the martial art. You finally understood the basics. Now we can move on to the good stuff. That's what black belt is. So
as long as it doesn't start looking like D&D.
Nope.
You reach level 2.
Nope.
Now you can do pickpocketing. You reach level 3. Now you can.
Well, there is no levels, right?
No.
There's rank advantages.
It's the rank. And like I said, that's just the idea that I had that came to mind first.
Well, I
like that idea of having advantages tied to martial arts
Yeah, because
And maybe
otherwise,
a single advantage that's martial arts
Mastery.
1, martial arts 2, martial arts 3, and then it unlocks something instead of having 10, like Judo Master 1, and then Kenpo Master 2, Krav Maga Master 1, like instead of having to do that.
yeah. And you were gonna say, Bill?
More to Ken's point, because I'm sorry I had to step away, but
No, you're good.
like having like defensive actions and the advantages, the rapid reload.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Rapid reload. What does that mean? It means
I like
that
Means that it
rapid
goes from
reload-
simple to fast, right? Yeah.
it goes for simple to fast action, which means you can do the barrack. You can
Do
be
the barrack
barrack.
or the Sylvester Stallone and the Expendables. Blah 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 blah. You don't even notice the
Right.
difference. Like you just keep
Right.
firing.
But that's the thing is you have an advantage. Rapid reload.
Oh
We
God,
have-
Steven Seagal.
We have offensive advantages. Melee master. For each rank, you get an extra attack, right? Which just extends your standard action with more action. But you can do defensive advantage of defensive master,
Right. You can do a defense
Which is-
master, absolutely.
which
yeah.
means you can do 2 defensive actions, 3 defensive actions in a turn. Because how many times have we had combat, even at the higher level, where okay, make your dodge roll. Make your dodge
Yeah.
roll. I can only make 1,
True. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I still get hit by the other 2 attacks. What about a person who is proficient in combat
Right. They'd
enough
start
to be
being
able to
They
evade?
can roll into a good place to do the next roll.
So so keep it simple, like melee master,
Yeah.
right? Defensive master, great.
You know what? Here's a
Ooh.
comment.
Because that way,
Go ahead.
Evade. Advantage, evade. That means that as a gunner, you can move from point to point to point, while avoiding 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 offensive actions against you, right? And then defensive master is on the melee side because you have a range master and a melee master. You have a defensive master and you have an evasion master.
Yeah.
Or like running gun.
running
That's
gun is
the-
a professional
Yeah.
milestone that lets them shoot on the run.
Yeah, but do that
Yeah.
from a defensive
The
standpoint.
principle is solid. Absolutely solid.
But from a
Yeah.
defensive standpoint of you're moving from defensive position to position, you may not be able to fire, but you're sure as hell not going to get shot.
Yeah.
Or you have somebody stabbing at you. Okay, great. I have defensive master level 2. They did 3 attacks. I dodged 2 of them. I'm going to take the 3rd. It's just going to happen because they have a melee master 3.
But the person who doesn't have that dodges 1 and then
They're done.
they're
Yep.
wide open.
And
for
then
the
that way you can have on the NPCs and the enemies and everything else. This enemy has a melee master of 6. Ooh, that's a nasty creature. So you're not building up this huge skill tree stuff for him. You're just basically saying melee master 6. Boom, he can do 6 attacks as a standard action. He's gonna Gensu the fuck out of somebody.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it does matter to be able to. The more DPS you can throw out or take is what determines the outcome. Usually, speed being the primary factor those things are built on. Yeah. No. This is turning out way better than I would have thought. Yeah. And I want to deal with like fighting in groups, and the last piece is doing firearms, right? Because firearms are fucking gnarly. And there has to be a consideration for the fact that you're not really dodging the bullet. You're trying to disorient the person shooting so that they can't hit you, right? Unless you reach that supernatural level where you actually dodge the bullet, and that's different. But
Oh, I was gonna say one of our advantages could be the one where you have a higher chance of dodging attacks.
yeah, that might work. I don't know.
Not actually
But that's
dodging
the thing,
attacks,
that's-
like if they shoot, but like you have a higher chance.
Call it
But
bullet
that goes
time.
Back,
I
that
like
goes
the
back to
idea
defensive
of-
action, rapid reload. These are defensive advantages.
Yeah.
But conversely, you can have the disadvantages,
Yep.
which is bullet sponge.
I was
Right,
thinking
but-
of a disadvantage where you like have to stick on one target.
Yeah.
Like you get
Fixate.
laser focused, so even if there's two people, the first one you hit is the one you stay on until you switch.
Right. It's basically like a bad habit, isn't it? Basically, what happens is that you take some kind of penalty for trying to hit more than one target when you're doing your shots. Like,
Yeah.
you could say, like, every time you're on your turn, you're like, okay, I'm shooting at this guy, but if I try to go blap, 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 those last two dudes that I'm trying to shoot at, I take like a -3 to my shots because I'm trying to shoot outside of the one person. It's like you can't multitask in fighting somehow.
Well, and maybe that should be the standard, honestly.
Yeah.
Is that with firearm, you have to.
Well, I was thinking about it in the sense of any
Yeah,
multi-attack,
yes.
really. Because I was sitting there going like, well, so the thing about multi-attacks is that generally speaking, it's setup, right? There's always a setup somewhere, because whenever you see a boxer and they're throwing these punches out, rarely do you actually get the, like, okay, let's do it, like that, and they don't really go hard until they have the proper setup. They're waiting for that moment. So when you're doing multiple attacks, it could be like, you take the Melee Master as an example, just in that even the boxing situation, they make several strikes, but the first one, like you could decide that you want to do like the attacks and like the standard way that I know most people would probably approach it is like first hit is at full power, and then second hit and third hit have like I said, like a -3. I don't know. Like you basically just automatically presume there's a penalty for the next few attacks that follow, right?
Well, this kind of goes in vein with the recent character I was developing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Battle Bard, with kind of imagining how he does magic, which is that he has major and minor actions that build up to an ultimate, right?
Yep.
But that goes to Scott's thing of judo progression in a martial art, MA1, level 1, 2, 3, which is you have minor actions like this lead to major action, lead to this, and then when you max out, you have an ultimate finisher.
Limit breaker.
Yep.
Yeah, limit breaker. Right? So the same concept can apply. Is that we build in advantages and disadvantages in a combat system, which is major and minor actions, until you have that, wait for that right moment, and then
Yep.
you just finish them. Same thing with, suppressing fire. You're, level 1, you're just doing suppressive fire to, major pinpoint target, finisher, kill shot.
Yep.
Like instinct, like the ultimate would be like an instant crit. But the thing is, because the concept is street level, they have to build up to that with their IP.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that the IP is always going to be the gate. Always going to be the gate to, it's the key through the gate rather to achieve some of these things. Now, like I said, this discussion about combat's like I said, gotten way better than I was expecting it would. Well, because like I said, I was just trying to spitball some things, and it just didn't feel right. And because like I said, the major part, like I think I said it somewhere in the CRB somewhere, where I was like, combat should be fast, chaotic, fun. Like it has to have all those things kind of stirred together. And when we're in a fight, we're having fun, but I want to dial that up. I want it to be crazy, and I want it to
have a nice soundtrack.
Yeah.
And a little Cowboy Bebop dance action.
Yeah, it should feel like whenever Spike is in the middle of a hand-to-hand fight, it should feel like that. Just rapid strikes back and forth. Just
he's going full Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah! Yeah, it should feel like that. You should have this sense of just absolute crazy going on. And when your character's in a fight, they should feel amazing. Even if they lose, they should be like, dude, that was badass. And it shouldn't require powers to make that happen. Because powers are fun, they do add spice, but they shouldn't be the sole focus of how you get to that point. Otherwise, why would you ever make it just a regular martial artist? And I think in this case that...
you make one guy who's a fighter, I attack.
Yeah.
Well, that was a big D&D criticism, was that Fighter was like, I swing my sword. Rogue is like, I'm gonna backflip into the shadows, stab you 16 times from the back, then climb up here and light crossbow you and kill you. And the wizard's like, I shoot fireballs. And then in 4th edition, everybody became wizards. They're just, I cast battle axe.
I cast battle axe,
so
yeah.
You know, that's what happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I want there to be a dynamism in this system. I want it to be that this thing that when people start to get into a fight, I want the players scared they could lose their lives, and I want there to be a sort of a rush of excitement when the combat starts. And I don't want it to be stagnated because the system just uses standard initiative. You next. Like I can make it work, but I want something meatier to grab onto when it comes to the fighting. Like, I want something to really bring out the cinematic and grit simultaneously, and I also want to be able to track it easily as a GM, because that's the other bitch, is that tracking combat is a pain in the ass for everybody, really. But the GM has the lion's share of that particular dilemma. They just
already went through the 45 minutes. Dang.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I'm just like, I really desperately want to make things just work their way through.
Gotta love Versus, man.
I do. I love them a lot. I wish they would do their mass volumes again. They've actually had to take some down, I think, from copyright. But there's just this, I don't know, a prevalent sense that the combat can do that. Now, I do kind of have a little thing that I am absolutely sure is going to be awesome. I don't know if this will get a chuckle or not. I know I chuckled anyway. But I went back through the AP system again, and it's like it's still not where it's supposed to be. I want this AP system fleshed out in such a way. It's so close. Yep.
We're just gonna eliminate firearms. Entirely.
No, I figured it out. I actually did. I've gotten to a point now where I'm really happy with this idea or concept. Okay, so the way the AP worked originally was through numbers, and that was the part that was driving me bonkers. I was like, well, now I've got to roll dice, and this is starting to which is fine, but I'm also kind of like, it is, but it's a fixed damage system. First of all, second of all, I want there to be a real threat, because the main problem is either the AP was either too high or too low. Like, I just couldn't quite measure I couldn't quite quantify it amongst the various types of ammunition and so on. So I was like, here's what I'm going to do. I went and said, we're going to go AP, and I've done it already, partially, because I say AP mundane, right? Which means that it goes through the actual material because it's mundane, not warded. So, that's what happens. Well, I was like, well, what if I just tweaked that idea? And if I said AP light or AP medium, AP heavy, right? Or I could even say AP, we
have light, medium, and heavy armor, so...
Right, exactly. So the reason why I was thinking about this was in this particular sense, right? So let's say you have a guy with medium armor, and you have a weapon that's AP medium. What that would mean, in the way that I have conceived it, would be the damage you take from a weapon with AP medium would deal half damage for the number of rounds or whatever strike hits you. So if you have bullets to do 6 on the regular, and it's got AP medium, you get hit with 3 bullets, that's 9 damage. Automatically, it's just blip, it's right in your head. You just go right to it. It's 9 damage. It's what penetrates it. Okay? If you're wearing light armor and get hit with a weapon that is AP medium, you take full damage because the weapon goes right through the armor. Okay? It's like you're not wearing any. Now, and conversely, if you have heavy armor, it's total soak. Whatever comes over the top.
I thought you were gonna say quarter damage. I was like, Dayton, do not make me do quarter damage.
Yeah, you round down too, by the way. Hello, camera. This is my face. All right. So, but yeah, yeah, no, 0. It's just zip. So if you have heavy armor and they have AP medium, you go tink, 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 tink.
So if you have a light penetrating weapon, half damage against the dude in a t-shirt, but nothing against anyone higher than that.
Well, in this case, so if you have AP light, that means if they're not wearing armor, they take full, and if they have light armor, they take half.
Right, and if they've got
medium armor, it just goes
medium,
bloop.
nothing.
Yeah.
Are there weapons then that are
Yes, there is a very specific
always gonna
AP.
hit?
There's a very specific AP type that I created for this one thing. I'm like, what would count? Because I was like, I've got vehicle damage, and I was like, I'll just call it AP full, which literally means, regardless of whatever armor you're wearing, you take half of the damage that comes from it. Meaning heavy, medium, light, period. There are weapons that have this. Magical weapons of a very specific kind that are like, magical weapons in like, I don't know, you take the fucking Excalibur, I don't know why I can't think of anything else.
Right.
Or you can think of like the monofilament wire, which is going to be an AP full, which means that if you get hit with it, half of the damage of the weapon is still going to go through. Period. But it never changes. It's always half. So in other words, even if you're wearing light or medium or heavy, it will get through and deal half the damage. And that's the reason why I thought of that stylistically, was like, this means the damage can be dealt with these very specific weapons. Same goes for like grenades. Like if you get caught in the range of a grenade, you'll still take half damage because that shrapnel's moving at incredible speeds, and there's a lot of force that goes behind those kinds of things, right? So weapons or artillery that has AP full only does half damage whenever you're wearing armor. And as weird as it sounds, it makes perfect sense, because only when you're not wearing armor does it full damage, but we're going to assume that most people would be wearing armor, right?
Although we weren't in our game until very recently.
Right, exactly. So, basically without the armor, you're like, well, you're just taking full damage straight to the face. Like, there's nothing to calculate. But
isn't there some of the damage of grenades is like impact, or I mean the wave, the
concussion.
Concussion, yes.
Concussion that goes through the armor.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's the damage of shrapnel, but there's also just the stuff that's like, hey, just because you're wearing a heavy body armor, like you're still gonna feel like your insides.
Oh yeah, you're still gonna be absolutely stirred up on the inside. Yeah. So
how does that equate into it?
That's what I mean by AP full. You take damage, even though the armor itself is heavy, medium, or light. You're still taking half damage from the source of where it came from. And the reason why I say it's only half, because I'm not scaling for what kind of armor you're wearing. I'm just saying, you get hit with this weapon, you're gonna take damage. This was a solution to all I have to do then is wear some kind of crazy heavy power armor, and I'll never be taking any damage ever. It's like there has to be an answer to that, and the answer in my mind was find things that do AP full. Yeah, find things that do AP full that just do damage at half the capacity, right? And that's one of those things where it's like, oh, that makes complete sense. It's like, it's just, some things will penetrate no matter what you do. It's kind of like somebody wearing a Kevlar vest who gets hit with a tank round. Good night. Like, so that's.
I'd love to see what a person looks like when they get hit by a tank if they're just wearing a t-shirt.
They just turn it. They just
see a pair of boots.
No, you just see a splatter of purple yogurt where they used to be, and a sort of a faint mist. That's about it. Yep. That is it. But yeah, so that's kind of what I did with the AP system, and I was like, wow, this is super simple, because I can be like all small. Yes, it's actually in the first tab of the synergy system underneath AP ideas. I went through and just kind of sorted it all out and kind of went through and just determined what I thought I was going to do with it. But
so what would make a person get different armor? Like, is it, then are we only having 4 different types of armor?
Well, technically speaking, we have light, medium, and heavy, right? And then we have powered armor.
Right.
The powered armor.
What I mean is the Dark Sun suit versus the HD full suit versus the whatever that we have, resilience, protection.
That's another thing that I factored
away?
in. No. So what's going to happen then is, like, if you get hit with an AP round that penetrates, you actually, still have to make your resilience check. But the thing about that is that if you would normally get 1 pip on your armor for taking damage, like if it was something that just bled over, if you only get 1 pip because it's armor piercing, you get 2 pips. It basically
so there's still a chance of it to break and be worn down, and
Yeah,
that.
Right,
it
it
it,
does
it,
durability
it,
system.
it actually happens faster.
Yeah, it just takes out the. It did 45 damage. You have a 15 armor, so it only does 30. Like it takes that part out.
Yeah. So, and the thing about that being is that you actually raised a question that made me wonder. It's just like, is it important that I know how much damage the armor can soak besides that? And the only time that really comes into play is if, let's say, you take damage from multiple sources or from a source that's just really fucking huge or really powerful. If you have armor 18 and you take 25 damage, even though it may not have had armor piercing, you're still taking the bleed over of that damage.
Well, you might be perfectly encased in your armor and still squished.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You get hit by a vehicle. It didn't cut you.
It
The
still
armor's
hurts.
Still intact.
Yeah.
It just, squeezed you shut. So.
Right. Well, that's the idea about the armor rating or the protection rating being important. Because, like I said, if you have a weapon that does a lot of damage that goes over the top like that, then you would still suffer the damage that is overlap. So, like I said, if you were wearing armor that was 10 protection and take 15 damage, and they didn't have AP attached to it, you'd still take 5 damage from that hit. Because it's...
And what are we saying AP stands for this? Are we saying...
It's armor penetration or armor penetration or armor piercing. Either way works exactly the same. Yeah. So, the difference being is that, you would just presume, like this is the part that I would take out with that, is that if you have armor piercing attached, you exclude the overlap. So, even in that same situation, if the guy had 15 damage, you take half, right, off of that, and he was only wearing armor 10. Normally he would have only taken 5, but because of the way that this works out, because you round down, it would just be 7 points of damage because of the armor piercing, right? And that way it works out. And then, of course, if you're taking anything extra over the top anyway, for the heavier stuff, Jesus Christ. I mean, half damage is going to be a lot anyway. So whatever the overlap is, most likely the overlap won't exceed whatever half damage of the round you took anyway. It's just, it won't come up that way. Otherwise, you could just be like, well, it's either half damage or half damage plus whatever excess, if there's even more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, obviously, the damage was more sophisticated. Like, if he only had armor 5, he would normally just take, like the 7 damage from it armor piercing. But because of the fact that it was like a 15 damage ratio, that's like 9 damage. Because there was just extra over the top. But I don't want to overcomplicate it.
Promising.
Yeah. That's good, dude.
Looking good, dude.
You have really good tension in there. I'm actually kind of impressed.
It's all the power of YouTube.
Gotta love it. Talking about blood, guts, gore, and combat, and he's over here knitting. Yeah, so that was basically the run that I had in my head about armor piercing. I was like, what if we just made it categorical? And just said, like, armor this, armor that, and whenever pitted against it, it's half. And if it's a tier lower, then it's full. You just treat it like they weren't wearing any. And I was like, and then above that, it's like they had so much that it didn't go through. Like, so it's half or non-penetrating.
And then still positional armor, right? Like, if I got a helmet and I get shot in the leg, like, my helmet's not doing anything to help me.
Right. Yes, it still matters. Very much so.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, I think that's... I know that which is why you thought you'd get a chuckle out of this. I know we talked about the whole idea of, like, just light, medium, heavy armor. Like, why do we have that designation? It doesn't seem to matter unless it's going to impact mobility or damage class of some kind. So
right.
Having it be related to a damage class, I think that helps tremendously.
Yeah, I think it's going to make it more useful or more pertinent to have it, because then it's not just, well, they can't beat the excess, so here we go. Like, yeah, it's...
When it makes the cool armor that's like not a mech suit, but like the sleek wear that is really high quality that can go under your t-shirt and jacket.
Right.
You know, that sort of stuff. Or like the evening wear where you can have the tuxedo or the ball gown that's armored. You get that Kingpin armor from the Daredevil show, you know, where he gets slashed and like nothing happens.
Yeah.
It makes that really appealing because then it doesn't have to be like the fantasy trope where your armor is cloth, leather, hide, metal.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Well,
can have nanotechnology, you know, we can have more sophisticated materials.
Yep.
The company I used to work for was a big aramid fiber producer, which like Aramid's brand name is Kevlar.
Yeah.
And so like it was real fascinating to watch their safety demonstration videos that they would have, like, and how they would do the full ballistic gel, like what sort of penetration does this get, and you know,
gotta love some good penetration.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is that like up until like the thing about armor in particular is that bludgeoning is usually much more effective against hard armor and much less against soft. And vice versa for anything penetrating. Penetrating is much less effective against hard armor and much more effective against soft. And obviously that's the reason why weapons and armor change so goddamn much, is because you're dealing with a multitude of different things, and armor is trying to cover for all the fucking bases as much as it can. Because it's like, there's just a lot out there. Like,
yeah.
But I think that the categorical way of approaching this, and the last thing too, is like, how do I handle stacking? Because I couldn't figure that out. I was like, how the hell do I handle stacking in this case? Because like, you can medium over light, because that is a possibility where somebody can stack their armor over the top. And it's one of those things where it's like, how do I handle this? So it's like, well, if we're going categorical, then all I would do was I would just literally handle it as if it was the outer armor, whatever's on the surface. That's the armor that we're rating against, and you just apply whatever's going on to that armor until it's broken, right? And if there's, and if anything else, you can easily assume that the armor beneath it would likely be broken as well. And there's nothing wrong with that balance-wise, because the armor that broke first was the tougher stuff, because everybody's going to wear outward in some way. But it's always going to assume that the tougher armor is what is sustaining you. So under that assumption, you basically just assume that it's one piece. You just have to go with the armor stacking that way. Because armor stacking gets a little bit wacky whenever you start pushing it through. But as far as the bleed over is concerned, like how much you bleed over, that's where it gets interesting, because that would stack up. So if you had like 10 light and 20 medium, the bleed over would have to beat 30. So it's like, you get that as an advantage. But the armor piercing shit, I mean, if it goes through, you're still dealing with the same problem.
And Cyberpunk 2020 dealt with that by having mobility start taking effect.
Mm-hmm.
Where, you start having penalties to reflex because you're...
Yeah.
You have your combat parka, right? And
yeah.
So... But I think even if we just said like a maximum of 2 layers...
Yeah.
Right, like we could just put a hard rule in there that says...
Yeah.
You may stack no more than 2 layers.
Well, and that would be easy enough, or like whenever accounting for damage, you just account for those 2 layers, that's it. And that would be perfectly fine, because like if you were wearing armor inside of a mech suit, you know what I mean? It's like but the thing about vehicles is that the vehicle is what's destroyed when the armor goes out, and then you deal with the pilot. So that's not technically armor stacking.
Right. But I could see someone layering a Kevlar vest under a jacket, or
Well, and there should be some creativity involved, because like, let's take the Dresden Files. You've got Michael, who runs around in a full breastplate, but underneath is a layer of Kevlar. It makes freaking sense.
It sure does. You still need to read those books, by the way.
Throw the magical trench coat over the top.
Right? I would. Yeah, like I said, armor stacking gets a little wild, so it's one of those things where it's like, that's the only thing that I have to account for right now for sure, and determine exactly what the best course of action is. The armor stacking is still a little nebulous, but in general, most people don't really need to, and if it happens, it's probably because somebody's trying to do said battle parka and don't really realize what they're getting into. It's like I just want to be the most defensible ever. Like
you're in the bomb disposal suit. You're not running down the street.
Right, and the other thing too is that all I might actually do instead is actually say if you're going to stack armor, if you have like 2 light, then you basically can be considered wearing medium. Or if you're wearing medium and light, it's still medium. And if you wear medium heavy, it's heavy. You know what I mean? Or if you wear 2 mediums, it's heavy. But it only bounces up one category. Like it's something simple and easy to understand, so you're not going like, I don't know, all these different numbers and stuff. Like I don't want to overtax. I don't want to do lots of math. I want math to support, not to be the focus.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's how I approach the AP system. I think I've actually got something worth looking at on that side of it. And then as far as like fast, simple, and standard actions are concerned, that is something I was playing with also, and I want to see if I can make it work. I just need to have simple actions defined. So that because there's a lot of simple and fast actions in that area, and I want to make certain that I don't limit something that I would really easily consider a fast action and make it a simple action by mistake. I want to have just a few simple actions, like reloading your gun. That to me should be a simple action because it is kind of a complicated operation. It's why they train for so many hours. Or offering aid to another person could be a simple action, you know what I mean? Like getting them up off the ground, shit like that. It's just, I want to get a definition of that before I really play with it.
I love the idea of rapid reload, though.
Yeah, because like I said, if you put the simple action as, this is how you have to do it outside of your standard stuff, and then you make it a fast action, you can be like, blap, 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 reload, like, doesn't cost you anything, you've got 2 more options to play with.
But, one of Barrett's things, I tracked my ammo.
Yeah.
So, I had on the side, I had exactly how much ammo I had. So I had a weird thing where I could do more shots per turn than I had capacity.
Yeah.
Right, or something
yeah.
like that. And
you would basically empty your mag in the first two barrages, and you'd have to reload in between.
Yeah, and so.
Don't you mean your clip?
No.
I could do 10. Oh no, I could do 6 shots per attack.
That's regardless.
So I would do, 6, and then I could really only do 4 without having to reload.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But it does make it good if you're actually doing that, especially if you're doing full auto or burst, and you have to think about your reload. And that's the other thing too, is that full auto and burst, what I'm doing is I'm basically going to say that if you do those actions, like I want to kind of because I want burst to be single roll, and I also want full auto to be single roll instead of rolling for each bullet. And the way that I take burst is that if you have a rate of fire on a firearm that says 1 to 3, you can go burst with it, meaning you're either pulling the trigger 3 times or you switch it to burst and you're pulling the trigger and you get pop, 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 right? So you either have burst fire by rote because of the weapon, or you can fire 3 times. But I want that to be a single roll. So whenever you're doing your strikes or attacks or whatever, that could be taken into account. So if you end up getting that ranged master 3 times, that's 9 rounds if you have a weapon that does that. But if you have ranged master go full auto on your first spray and be like, bleh, that's a simple action to reload the weapon, and then you have to fire again.
I'd love to have, if there's modifiers on weapons, it's like, this one requires a standard action to reload. Like, that's how hard it is.
And that's a D&D thing.
Like one of those.
They had that whole thing with crossbows where you'd have a light crossbow that was a free reload.
Here's something that would be
a draw.
Yeah. Well, because you have to put it nose down, you have to draw back the string, you have to lay in the bolt. Yeah, like it's a process. But here's what's making me laugh is that technically speaking, imagine somebody who is like expert in heavy weapons. We're talking like the saw and all these belt-fed weapons that require a lot of effort to reload. And I'm going like, it'd be hilarious is to get that reloads like rapid reload and watch them fast action a goddamn reload of a belt-fed weapon. They're just like, and then just firing again. It's like, what?
That's where you just have an ammo
psychological damage.
Like that's where your advantage gives you an ammo monkey who's like helping you with your belt fed.
Monkey.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, if I really wanted to get crunchy with it, I could. But like what I as long as the crunch makes the game fun, I don't care. I just don't want it to be so crunchy that everybody's like, God, my teeth are broken, because I'm just like trying to eat this and I can't. But yeah, I mean this has been a good conversation. It's so freaking nice to be able to batter around a few ideas because, like I said, I really want.
We need to take a break every month to do like a lore session or just live action, or if we want to like make another day for like going over the book, because I feel like when we're actually talking and set aside time talking about it, we make a lot of progress.
Well, and in specific in this case, like right now, I want. Here's my goal, I guess you could probably say for January, is that with anything over the course of this month, I'd really like to see if we can't clean combat up really well, because it's already very well established, but I think we can clean it to where it is pristine by the end of the month. I think that is an entirely plausible goal, because we're so fucking close, man. We're so close. I just have a few things.
Yeah, I want it to be fast to run.
Yeah, that's
like, because that's a big complaint in other systems.
Yes.
That, like, there's a podcast I absolutely love that was a real play podcast, and when I could determine in the first like 5 minutes that they were like rolling initiative, I would just skip because it would be a full 2 hours.
Yeah.
Of them playing combat, and they were higher level or whatever, but it would be like each person is taking a minute to determine their move, and it's very tactics oriented, and like I get that, but I was like, I don't want to listen to this. And I certainly wouldn't if I only get 2 hours to play. Like, I don't want to spend the entire 2 hours in combat unless it's the big bad evil at the end sort of situation.
Well, and I think I do combat well enough that the 2 hours we spend doing it, and sometimes even stretching across sessions, I think that I actually managed to make it entertaining at least.
Absolutely. They feel like a series of skirmishes.
Mm-hmm.
Versus and we get a lot of stuff in. It's not like Bill spending 20 minutes doing his attack and then I've forgotten what I want to do.
Right.
Like that's where it gets sloggy in other systems. Or they make it too basic. My attack does 5, your defense does 6. Okay, I hit,
and that's just as bad in a totally different way. Yeah. Just as bad in a totally different way, for sure.
So, yeah, I want people to feel like choosing your weapon, choosing your armor matters.
Yep.
That it's not just rock, paper, scissors, but not so much so that they're like, I didn't get this upgrade and now I'm useless, right? Like, I didn't put all my points into strength, now I'm useless. Like, right. I'm a paladin who spent some points on dexterity, now why? Like, nobody cares about me.
Right.
Like, so, yeah.
Well,
then you get fun builds. Then you get non-optimal builds that are fun.
Right. Well, and even better than that is that the potential for builds is like infinite, because the system just flexes to incorporate. But more in particular, I don't want to, like, probably the biggest concern I have right now, I don't want to change the character sheet. I love the character sheet design. I want to keep the things that I have on it. So whatever changes I'm proposing should be able to accomplish what I want without retransmogrifying the whole sheet and starting over from scratch. Like, I don't want to go anywhere near that. Like, like I said, we're so effing close. We're so close to getting it just where I want it, and I can feel it. I hate edging.
You get blue balled.
Yeah, I think it's in a good place. It feels good, but I want a novice GM who's naive to the system to be able to play it right. This should be able to be someone's first game.
Yeah, it should be something that, like I said, that's who I'm aiming at, because first-time players should be able to pick this up and be like, okay, this makes sense. Maybe it's a little complex, but after like a single run or 2 runs, they should be like, oh, I get it. It's like, and they can really push it through and make things work, and it's not this big taxing overwork of their brain.
What we should do in the next week or two is kind of codify some of this, and then just go through some like fake encounters using this new system. Just basic characters, not even character sheets, just like here, you're this guy, we're gonna try running this combat through just to see how crunchy it can feel. And then like you say, we'll run it through once where you're giving us step by step, and we're like we're new players, right? And then we'll try it without you telling us step by step and see if we can follow along, especially someone like me who's just like a noob to this kind of stuff.
You say new, but you've been playing for years now.
One system.
Yeah, that's enough.
Dude, I have played 2 systems. The other being Shadows. I just have 30 years of Dungeons and Dragons playing, but
and that's changed a lot in 30
Yeah.
years.
It has.
So you've played multiple systems. It's just evolved.
Well, it's technically the same system. I am not excited for the next iteration, especially with what they're doing with the OGL. I think that
What's OGL stand for?
Open Game License. They're
Open
basically
Game
gonna
License.
they're gonna bone a bunch of publishers if they go with the idea that got leaked.
What are they boning?
So the Open Game License is kind of critical to D&D in terms of how it's perceived, because the way that
any D&D thing you see on Kickstarter is only there because of the OGL.
Right. There's that. But the other thing too is that publishers that get involved with the D20 system that is
are they getting rid of it? The OGL?
They're going to be changing it. They say, "Oh, we're not getting rid of it." It's like, "Yeah, but you're making it incredibly hostile to anybody else." Yeah. So the critical things that they're going to be changing if they decide to go with this, because this isn't set in stone yet. This was leaked as their like preliminary thought, and I'm going like, "Oh my god." But what they're going to do is, so right now with the open game, they're basically, what you can basically do is like, hey, I've got this neat idea that is set using the system that D&D employs, and it can be a campaign setting, it can be a whole new class, it can be all that stuff mixed together, modules even. Like it's one of those things where you've got all these things that are published under the name of D&D, but it's your IP. And so
it's do Night City,
right.
Cyberpunk.
In
D&D license.
Right, I could do it underneath the Wizards of the Coast D20 system setup. I could do it that way. Problem is that what they're changing is you would now have to start paying royalties, and they've said that it's at a certain amount, but it's 25% royalty on things that they consider to be that's kind of like in the freelance area, and then it's 20% for anybody else that is a certified licensed publisher. So they have to pay 1/5 of the earnings they make to Wizards of the Coast for their stuff. The more wackadoodle part of it is that anything created under the umbrella of Wizards of the Coast and D&D, they basically can say, nope, you don't get to use that. We're revoking what's going on here. But they can take the ideas that you had and have complete license to use them any way they like. So if you have this incredibly potent, super popular thing, they can be like, yep, you're no longer licensed and you're not allowed to be able to use this, and you have to destroy all your stuff. That was the other thing, too, is that you have to destroy your content. But if we so choose, we can use anything you create using our system worldwide without penalty, and it can't be revoked. Right.
That sounds like what Blizzard did with when they remade the Warcraft games.
Yeah.
They basically said if you want to do the mods, that anything you make, because they don't want Dota to happen again.
I was going to say because of Dota.
Yeah. They lost Dota, and they're like, well, that's not happening again. And so everyone got real mad that like any mod you make is owned by Blizzard. So if you start making money off, or if they like it, they'll just poach it. And it's like, it's ours. Thanks for the work.
Yeah. So that's kind of where they're going with. They're basically making it a very closed game license, as a matter of fact.
And it's weird. What sucks is you can't do anything about it.
It's their license, and they can update it as they please. There is some future protection in the original licensing, but I don't know how effective that's going to be, depending on their argumentation.
Let's just change it.
Yeah. That's because they do have the ability to change it, but they specifically worded that even if certain things change, this particular clause in the license said this part cannot be modified even if everything else is. So it's like, basically it was like, this is permanent.
And those creators aren't going to be able to afford lawyers.
Nope.
Like, it's, it's, like I said, for most of the part, it's people who are, you'll see these on Kickstarter where it'll be like, Terraria, some brand new, world, and it's like it's somebody's homebrew world, and they've created rune knights and hedge mages and whatever classes that they've created, but it's still using these 6 basic stats and a d20 plus, system and all that stuff. And yeah, the fact that they're taking those away, like some of these people are, they're making $20,000 lifetime on these products.
Yeah. And it's going to be a real bitch to have them stop. Well, the other thing, too, is that the reason why the open game license was such a respected thing is that it promoted growth. New ideas could come into the system and sort of flex and show off their stuff. Now, there's a good chance that if that happens, people are going to start using entirely different stuff to do what they want to do, which means that it puts pressure on the rest of the consumer base to go looking into other systems where normally they didn't have to. They could just stay in their umbrella, so to speak, and kind of expect that new cool things would show up.
But then you got Pathfinder, which was basically
3.75 D&D, and
people taking the OGL.
Yep, and that is complicated, and they have been like, we have no comment at this time. It's a very complex situation, like. Which is why I'm glad I ended up buying my Pathfinder core rulebook. Anyway, so...
Which is why we're building Shadows and Cyberpunk under the D20 system.
Yeah, it's entirely a project into and of itself, non-corporate. And I definitely know that what I make from money of this is not going to be pressed as a point to make money off of other people's ideas. I want them to kind of jump in there and create all kinds of supplements and crazy shit. Because to me, that's basically the world expanding in real life. Where people just add supplements to it themselves eventually, and they get published underneath this name, which still means it's like, hey, it's still attributed to the baseline system, which means that it's still going to be focused on, and we'll have our own supplements to go with, because I'll never run out of those. But I like the idea of encouraging other people to come up with their own stuff creatively. Like, to me, the OGL and the way it stood out was the fact that it basically said, bring your stuff, man. Come in here and show us what you got. And, it's like, you've earned it. You've earned it. You're like, you've done the work. You've done the stuff. You're published. You should get paid for that, and I should stay out of it. Like, because the core system is mine. This is your idea. Like, I don't know. There's something friendly and camaraderie. There's a camaraderie to that versus your stuff now belongs to me, and it's my money. Like, and... Well, the worst part is the person that's leading this whole thing. I can't remember her friggin' name, but she's from Microsoft. Of course she is. And not only is she from Microsoft, she's used to dealing with video games, which means she's trying to turn D&D into a service model video game, which, like, I just don't even... Nope.
Yeah.
They're going to try and monetize players, and the reason why they want to do that is because GMs are usually the ones that go out and buy the books, the dice, the papers, the character sheets. They go through and do all this stuff. It's usually the GMs that carry that weight, and they have all these players, and they're like, well, we're not making enough money off the players, and it's like...
But I loved D&D Beyond, right? Like, that's the thing. D&D Beyond was so cool to be able to run, but also the massive homebrew section in there where you could click new monster and it would give you the monster template, and you could say, I'm gonna make a modification of a goblin called a Nilbog, and you load in the goblin stats and then go change what you want, and now you've got its own thing. Like, that was just so cool as a GM to be able to do that and have that flexibility.
Well, and I envision a world where my Shadows can do the same thing with their own online stuff, and I deeply hope that it never becomes so corporately dead. Like, I want cool stuff to exist. I want it to exist, but I'm not obsessed about making shitloads of money. Like, that's the reason why I don't have any money. Like, but But
Well, after we each get our first million, we'll remember this conversation.
yeah, let's be on recorded forever. Hopefully, I'm
right.
still keeping to it. I don't want to lose touch and be like, oh, my golden shillelagh. Anyway, but
That's what that's the upgrade to the trophies, the Golden Dick Awards.
yeah.
Okay, I gotta share this. My wife got me that I was saying I would love a
Technical hammer.
multi-tool. So she got me a multi-tool that is a hammer and has all of the like blades and like everything. And
Nice.
it's a hammer. And it has like screwdriver, stuff here that you can do that has like different screwdriver bits on it. But I'm like, I've never seen a multi-tool that was a hammer. And it's like got heft to it.
Yeah.
So it's it's locking. It's got all the different stuff. But I'm like the kids are like, Dad, can you help me open this? I was like, absolutely, let's go. I'm just walking around with a hammer in my hand. You guys need that cut open? Let's go.
Man, add that to your zombie apocalypse survival kit.
Right? Like it's got the in here like the common
like the hex the nut
and hex sizes and
that's fucking cool.
But I was like, why did you give me a small hammer? Wait, this has knife blades in it.
That's awesome. Your video's at 19 views now, D.
The carbon.
The average duration is up to I think it's 9 minutes, almost 10 minutes.
Oh, yay, retention. I like retention. That's the good stuff.
The impressions went up 2.9%.
Yeah.
That, I went through that one day and like shared on my Twitter feed. My Twitter feed is like 95% people who work in healthcare. And so I'm like, which one of you clicked through this?
Hey, they're all closet freaks like us.
They're like, yeah, I like Dark Tide.
Yeah, that video that day that you pimped out, I also had Kenny pimp it out. Got a lot of views.
Yeah, it was upwards in the 50s or whatever.
That's so cool.
Yeah, like the channel's actually starting to grow. I was freaking out earlier today. I was like, got a new sub on YouTube, yay! Like,
that's like one of the guys from Graylee's, or I guess it's not just Grayley, but the CH1.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Cool, though.
Yeah, any exposure, excellent.
It is.
That person's talking with other people, and
yeah, it means that stuff is going to start flowing.
Yeah, we've got over 1,000 views. I mean, just in the last month, we've gotten over 536.
Dude, that's rocking.
That was 1,000% more than the last 28 days.
Right, that was solidly 6 months ago.
You're gonna get your 1,000 views thing from YouTube. I think it's on paper, right? They get the platinum, like 1 million subs. Like
yeah.
The 1,000 views is like a post-it. It's like a gum wrapper. They just write like 1,000 and they.
It's getting good though. I mean, I think the new thumbnails are doing work.
Yeah, definitely. They are, and they're consistent, especially with my dumb face plastered everywhere.
Yeah, I've been enjoying the pictures. I really can't wait until January 7th. That's the one where you lost your glasses.
Oh God, yeah. I'm looking forward to the session that I recorded yesterday, because that whole thing was just a bucket of laughs the whole time through.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like right now I'm sitting there going like, anybody who wants to watch the most recent VOD on that can, because holy crap, it was hilarious. The first 20-30 minutes was me running around talking about stuff and trying to get my armor and equipment together. But then right after that, we got into a Darktide mission that was supposed to be like rank 3, which is just kind of moderately hard, except for
you guys were in it for a while.
We were in it for 36 minutes, and it was like pound, pound, pound. Like, honestly, I felt like a hooker on Nickel Night, man. It just run me ragged.
They're running the train on you. I remember you saying multiple times, like, did we switch this to like the next difficulty level?
It was brutal. There was nothing pretty about that.
Yeah.
it was like the Rick and Morty episode where they come back and say, we're just going to go on this brief mission.
Yeah,
And then they
and
come
then they're
back.
crying. They're just like,
They're
I
yep,
think my favorite part is when he screams. He's like, ah!
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what it was like.
that was what it was like. It was supposed to be a malice. It was supposed to be a malice level, not a freaking heresy. But oh my god, it just kept coming in, just non-stop. I thought that was a transition. That was your cat's tail, wasn't it?
I thought that was a nice screen wipe. Thing.
Yeah, it's like whoop, like that. I'm like,
I love it. All right, I gotta.
I'll
I'm,
keep it up. I downloaded it, so I'll turn it into a video soon enough.
My phone's at 5%.
yeah. Well, we gotta call her quits anyway.
I'm
So
glad I was able to do something at least with my phone.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun just catching up a little bit.
Yeah.
First stream of the year.
yep.
Happy
First Shadow
2023.
stream of the year.
Yeah. Oh, and I've got big things, mind you, planned out for this because I went back through into my OneNote and in my special GM's notebook of ha 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 I'm so evil, went and started designing how things were going to start pushing through. It's going to be great.
Oh, good. I'm at 19. I'm this close to a milestone for like the last month now. And I'm like, it's my own damn fault.
Oh, awesome. Well, pleasure, guys. I will catch you on the next one, and I'll just wrap this stuff up. And thanks for everybody for watching too. We will see you
Have a good night.
soon. Yes, indeed, yo. Laters.